In this video, I'm going to be guiding you through Chapter 2.10, the Mixed Economic System. We will be defining and looking at the arguments for and against the mixed economic system. The definition of a mixed economic system is an economy in which both the private and public sectors play an important role. This is a combination of both the planned economy and the market system that we previously learned, as the essential services are provided by the state or the government, and the private sector provides goods and services that are demanded by the consumers. The advantages of a mixed economic system is that products made by the private sector will be cheaper and better quality, and at the same time, the government will encourage the consumption of merit goods and discourage the consumption of demerit goods. And of course, they are the provider of public goods, which we have discussed in the previous chapter. The disadvantages, however, is that the government interventions may cause market distortions. Think national minimum wage, as this will cause unemployment, hence it's inefficient in resource allocation. Moving on to government intervention to address market failure. Firstly, we have maximum price. This is when the government sets a price below the market equilibrium price in order to encourage consumption. As you can see, when a maximum price is set, the price decreases from PE to PC, which lowers the price. Subsequently, demand increases due to a cheaper price from QE to QD, and supply of this good will decrease from QE to QS as they are forced to accept a lower price. This is due to the government setting the price below the market equilibrium, which protects the interest of the consumers, hence the increased demand. However, there is an inefficient allocation of resources, as demand is now greater than supply, and there is now a shortage of supply. The next government intervention is minimum prices. This is when the government sets a price above the market equilibrium in order to encourage production. Looking at the diagram, the prices will increase from PE to PF due to this government intervention. Naturally, the demand would contract due to an elevated price. This leads to a fall from QE to QD. And as suppliers are receiving a higher price, they are incentivized to make more, which increases the supply from QE to QS. This is due to the guarantee set above the market equilibrium, and the higher price encourages the supply of the good or service. This will lead to inefficient allocation of resources as supply is now greater than demand, which means that we have a shortage in demand, and the surplus is indicated here. The next is indirect taxes. This is a percentage charged on a good to decrease its level of consumption or production. When the government applies a tax on a good or a service, the supply curve will shift to the left from S1 to S2 plus tax. This will lower the supply of the good from Q1 to Q2 and subsequently increase the prices from P1 to P2. Taxes make demerit goods more expensive to consume, and the government will generate tax revenue from this tax. However, some demerit goods are price inelastic, meaning people will be buying these products regardless of price. And taxes are regressive in nature, meaning low-income individuals will be spending a larger proportion of their income on a good that is taxed. And lastly, we have subsidies. This is when the government provides money to encourage production and consumption of a certain good or a service. So when the government decides to grant a subsidy, this increases supply from S1 to S2 plus subsidy. The result of this is quantity will increase from Q1 to Q2, and the price will decrease from P1 to P2. For example, in some countries, public transportation receives significant subsidies to lower the cost of production, and these savings will be transferred to the customers in the form of lower prices. And because of the lower prices, this will increase the demand for public transportation. This will lower the congestion and air pollution within the economy. The next method of intervention is setting rules and regulations. These are rules and laws which place restrictions on the activities of a firm. The advantage of rules and regulations is that consumption of the good will be reduced, and the awareness of the negative impacts of demerit goods will spread. For instance, the disgusting pictures that you see on cigarette packages is mandated by rules and regulations by the government, and awareness of the positive impacts of merit goods will also be spread, as governments want people to consume as many merit goods as possible. The disadvantages, however, is that the restrictions will cause black markets. So for instance, if cigarette prices was to go up to, let's say, $50, there will certainly be someone that's willing and able to sell it to you for $20. And this, by definition, is a black market. People will start to break rules, such as bringing in fake IDs. And also, it is very difficult for the government to enforce this law, as it will cost a lot of money, time, and resources. Next, we have privatization. This is the transfer of the ownership of assets from the public sector to the private sector. The advantages is that the government will get revenue from the sale of these assets, which will reduce the cost of taxpayers. This incentivizes to improve quality, efficiency, and charge low prices due to privatization. The reason for this is, as we are operating in a free market, it is very competitive. Therefore, improving the quality and charging lower prices is a way to be competitive amongst the others. This will directly benefit the consumers of the economy. On the other hand, the disadvantages of this is that it might create a private sector monopolist, which in turn will be inefficient, high prices, low quality, and low levels of output. This means that the government may need to intervene. And by forming a monopoly, this is the opportunity cost of social benefits. Nationalisation is essentially the opposite of privatization. This is when you're moving ownership and control of an industry from a private sector to the government. The advantages of a nationalized firm is that the decisions made by the firm is based on the full cost and benefits of the economy, and not the profits of the firm. Therefore, it will not abuse its market power, and there will be better integration and coordination with what the state needs, and necessities such as medical care will be charged at low prices to everyone in the economy. The disadvantages to nationalization is that firms will be very inefficient because they lack competition. It is subsidized by the government by using taxpayer revenue. And this is an important one. The government are not specialists, meaning they do not possess the expertise and specialist resources in order to make a high-quality product or service. Another way the government can intervene is providing direct provision. This is providing goods and services for free of charge, such as education, healthcare, parks, etc., etc. The advantages of this is that goods and services provided to all people in society, meaning that everyone in the economy can enjoy the benefits of these services. So the consumption will have social benefits such as education, libraries, parks, etc., etc. The disadvantages to this is that there's an opportunity cost, as they can spend this on something else. This always leads to the question of, should the government fund more public homes or public hospitals? Another disadvantage is that free economic goods are usually overconsumed, causing shortages. And because it is a public good, there will be free riders, and free riders will use the services without contributing to the government revenue. And the last intervention is quotas. This is when the government imposes a limit on the quantity of a specific good or a resource extracted. I'm going to clarify that these are quotas on the quantity of natural resources that could be extracted from the earth, and not quotas from imports. The advantages of quotas is that it prevents resource depletion, which leads to environmental protection and encourages efficiency. The disadvantages of quotas is that there will be a reduction in output. This is due to the lack of natural resources that firms are able to utilize to turn into finished products. This may also result in higher prices for consumers. The government will also experience higher costs in enforcing these quotas, and potential black markets may arise. I hope that helped. I hope you have a good day. Bye-bye.